Hey, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Bibliobrainwaves. I'm Zakiyah, and today I have a guest with me, Stacy Matson, and I'm going to give her the floor to talk about what she does and tell you a little about herself.
Thank you, Zakiyah. I appreciate you. I am Stacy Matson. I own Bucket List Unlimited, and I'm an author of the book Bucket List Living Your Purpose. I also have a podcast called the Author Entrepreneur Collective where I interview nonfiction authors on their books and if they have a business on that, or author entrepreneurs if they don't have a book. And currently, what I do is I help nonfiction authors and women entrepreneurs market their books and their businesses through websites and funnels and landing pages. And I'm also building a coaching program around writing your books and finding your purpose in your business and building a business around that purpose.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So, speaking of books, today we're still in the book of Resisting Happiness by Matthew Kelly, and we're discussing chapters 7 through 9 today. So in chapter 7, it's about the big question of, what do you keep yourself busy with that you find actually isn't helping you grow yourself or your business or whatever you're focusing on, and or what you should be focusing on, but instead you're keeping yourself busy by doing something else. Have you seen that in your life?
Yes. So I do spend a lot of time on my business, but also I spend a lot of time reading fiction
Mm-hmm.
books, and it's just kind of my away time from the computer screen, right? But I probably spend a little bit more time doing that than I should.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the big things is because I love fiction, and I mean I love nonfiction books too, but I read so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's just a nice getaway, but I know I should spend less time reading fiction and more time on my business.
More, less time in fiction and more time in reality.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think for me it's more so over planning versus execution.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm always like, I have so many ideas. My brain is always running, and then trying to implement different things for different projects I have going on, and which makes it hard for me to focus only on one. And so that's been my huge goal for this month, is focusing on one project and getting that going with traction before I move on to the next one. And I've been doing pretty good. It's just the planning stage is so fun because it allows my brain to constantly be in creation mode. I almost think sometimes, what if I could just share my ideas and somebody else execute it, so then I get, you know, I could
I
do
love
that.
that too. I wish that too sometimes. Like I wish I had a business partner and they just, I think of the ideas and they do everything.
Yeah, exactly. So then, um, also there was a point made in the book where they said, what really helped them was creating a casual conversation with their higher self, with their higher source, and really talking about, what should I do next? What do you want me to do?
Hmm.
Because if you believe in a higher version of yourself, you believe that there's a version of you that's looking at you now, that's like, I know where you're supposed to be, I know what's going to happen, and all of this. Because there's a form of guidance that we all look to. And I believe that when we include ourselves in the decision making, and we don't allow it it to feel like there's a separate entity making decisions for us, it actually allows us to more easily flow with creating a decision for ourselves to move forward.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to know kind of your perspective on reaching out to a higher power or a higher version of yourself, like what that might look like, or have you done it, or are you, you feel kind of apprehensive about it? Like, I know some people are kind of like, I don't like they like sort of feel like they're giving their power away to something else or somebody else to not be able to have autonomy over themselves. But that's, I think, the total opposite of that idea. But what do you think?
I actually have a morning, what do you call it, routine that I do
Mm-hmm.
every morning to kind of set my mindset for the day and connect with God. Um, so I walk my dogs every morning, and then when I get back from our walk, I do a gratitude journal where I thank God for everything He's done for me, everything He's doing for me, and everything He will do for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself in the journal also, like future, like I'm so grateful that my you made my business successful, like even future things that haven't happened yet, right? Because in the Bible it says if you ask you shall receive, so if you don't ask you can't receive it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I also do a voice affirmation script, where it's more of a mindset thing, but also like saying affirmations like I am worthy, I am loved, I am successful, and also, again, gratitude and thankfulness. And then I also pray for the day that He would guide me in my purpose and help people, and just where I'm supposed to go and how to steward His kingdom. So that's my
Mm-hmm.
morning routine.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna say next. Was, do you think it helps to do some type of spiritual journey journaling to kind of get the message that you want? Like, do you find it helpful to go in depth and write, like, help me understand such and such and such? Um, and then to do the free writing, where you just let whatever comes to you get down on the paper without criticism or judging what you're writing. You just let it happen after you write the question. Do you find that to be helpful, or do you find it more helpful for you to just kind of sit, not have to actively do anything, and just wait for it to come to you?
For the gratitude journaling, I do the free writing. I haven't, because I did go to a conference last week, and I don't know if you know Kira Brinton. She wrote the book Transfiguration, and she talks about that free writing. Once after you pray and have it, like just write what comes to you. That's a little harder for me. I kind of struggle with that just because I'm not used to it yet. I haven't, you know, put it into practice enough.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind is so like busy. Sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I can like quiet down enough to receive what I'm supposed to receive. So
Mm-hmm.
and she has a whole like meditation in that book that I just haven't put into practice yet. So
Yeah, I also think that for people who don't, like you say, have the time or the capacity to slow their minds down to writing, I like to suggest doing guided meditations, because somebody's just listening to, like, you're just listening to someone speaking and taking you through the motions, and you can just sit there and feel it as opposed to actively having to do something.
right.
And that's what I want people to understand, is that there's always different forms of connection. There's no one way to create a connection. You don't have to write something, you don't have to sing, you don't have to do an interpretive dance. It doesn't have to, like, there's different ways to connect to yourself and to the higher source to get answers that you need, and just guidance in general. And I think that's what hinders a lot of people from making that connection in the first place, is because they go through different religious practices, whatever they've grown up with, and they feel like that's the only way of understanding, the only way of doing things. And a lot of people haven't been exposed to other spiritual or religious practices to open their minds and their hearts and their eyes to different ways of doing things that might actually work for them outside of what they grew up knowing.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I like to open the floor to that. Um, so when when we talk about, making decisions, alongside our higher selves, what's the first question you ask yourself when you're making a decision?
I ask myself, like, is it helping people, and is it stewarding God's kingdom, and also, like, can I do it? You know what I mean? Like, do I have enough confidence or the fortitude or the want to do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's the three major questions.
Yeah. And how can you tell, like, what feeling do you get when you know this is it? This is the right decision.
It's funny. I actually look for signs, and lately, over the past, few months or whatever, if hear somebody asking me for something like three times, or or see three signs, that then that's to me like what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's just, I look for that stuff. So you just have to be open to that kind of communication, because God doesn't always give you divine download. Sometimes you have to see the signs.
Yep. And then also maybe even making an intentional understanding of what the sign will be for you. Like deciding, okay, if I see this thing, then I know I'm on the right track. If I hear this one thing, then I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. For me, I if I'm doing something and I see a coin somewhere or I'll see a feather, I'm like, okay, yeah, and it's usually right every time. And then depending on what I wanted to do that day, like if I decided that I wanted to go out, even though I reluctantly was like, I'm not feeling it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And then I see something, and then I'm like, okay, I was meant to be here. And then I usually end up in a conversation with somebody who needed to talk to me, who was waiting to see me, but just didn't have my number or contact information. And I'm like, this happens every time. So, you know, and that's what the book is about: resisting happiness, resisting that notion in yourself to go and get out of your comfort zone, get out of your own way, um, to really say, you know, okay, I don't feel like getting out of bed today, but what if today's the day that I come across somebody that's trying to hand me some money, that's trying to be my friend, that's trying to connect me to wherever. Like if I hadn't to take my kids out one of these days, it was like 90 something degrees, but we don't have a car. So we're walking and I'm like, we're dying. And then somebody comes and gives us a ride and they just happen to be the connect that I needed. And now I'm getting ready to have my own space to run my business from outside of my house, which is something that I manifested last year. So, you
That's
know, it's
amazing.
like those little things, like you really have to just push yourself and be like, just do it, even though you don't want to.
Exactly.
Um, because miracles happen in discomfort. Um, so then, I guess following up with that, I want to talk about how do you know when you're in a state of spiritual wholeness, spiritual wellness, where you don't feel like you're abandoning your feelings, abandoning yourself or others, um, in a way that allows you to live authentically. How can you? What are some things that you notice within yourself or others that allows you to see that that your life is in flow?
Yeah, when I'm in alignment, everything is easy, right? The path is easy. Like, I've been through enough trials and tribulations in my life, and even in the past, 6, 7 months, that I know if my path is hard, I'm not on the right track, and I need to like tweak my business, or take another turn, or do something different, right? And then because when I'm in total alignment where I'm supposed to go, everything is easy. Doors just open. I meet the right people. I connect with the right businesses. You know, so it's interesting how it works, right? Because if you keep running into walls, that's not the way you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when you're stubborn and it's like the people that you liked were there, the place that you liked was there, but it's forcing you to move on, and that's hard because you're operating in an ego of, this is what I wanted. Why do I have to leave? Why does it have to end for me? You know, why would I be brought to a place or a space in general where I would have to then be removed? But it's because you've outgrown it, and now you're ready for the next thing. But it's interesting because it's trippy. Normally the next thing is what you weren't planning for, and that's actually the best part, because as humans we have to understand that we can't actually plan the best part. The best part is actually unplanned, and that's, I think, the hardest pill to swallow, is because we're like, we make all these assumptions about how we want our lives to go, who we want to be, how we want to impact the ourselves and our loved ones and the world in general, and then life turns it around, and then we're like, okay, I don't want that anymore, but now I don't know what I want. Where am I going? What am I doing? And then, like, life has a funny way of turning you into exactly who you need to be, and then also in mirroring what you still wanted to be. Um,
Yeah.
so it all comes together. It just never looks the way that you expected, and that's like annoying.
Well, I don't know about you, but I was a control freak, right? And I was like, not
Hmm.
for anybody else, but for me,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like
Oh
I
yeah.
had to control my life. But
Hmm.
I learned in this journey that I don't have control, and I just need to give it all up because what I'm trying to do is not going to work.
Oh yeah. And then also, in realizing that, that's also another annoyance, just because you're thinking you're still doing right, because you're like, I'm not trying to control anybody else, so
Right.
everything should be fine. I'm not being a dictator. This is for me.
Hmm.
But it's also still a manner of speaking, being selfish, because there there's other people that still get affected even by the things that you do for yourself.
Yeah.
So, when it's not working out for you in a certain way, is because maybe what you're trying to do isn't for you as well as it isn't for whoever else might fall in line in your life story.
Right.
So, and I think that's a helpful perspective to have, because when we think about our lives and we think about changing it, and we're pushing, trying to get past this wall, and this wall's still there no matter how many times, how many different angles we approach it, it's important to see that, well, okay, I guess I just need to be guided by something else. And then that's when you have to find another way of navigation, another way of connection, because obviously the way that you've connected with your life is not for you. Um, so I think it's important to note that when you understand that you're resisting happiness because you're resisting acknowledging that you're misguiding your own self, um, and resisting growth because you're holding on to what you think your life is supposed to be, and you think what your desires are, and you haven't even experienced all of life to know what all of your desires could be, because, as I said just a few moments ago, 222 on my clock,
Mm.
is that, you know you can't know what you don't know. You can't plan for what you don't know. So the unplanned is almost always better. So, expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that.
but always have a plan, because it's smart, but expect the unexpected and welcome the unexpected to see where it could bring you into your next chapter.
Yeah, and be open to it too, because a lot of people aren't open to things that they don't know, or they're scared of things they
Yeah,
don't know, and you have to be open to that for sure.
exactly. Exactly. And I just want to end off kind of asking, is there something in your business or in your life where right now you're kind of holding space because you feel like you need to be more in control of the outcome of what that might look like or feel like for you?
Yeah, so I just I'm still, my business is still growing. I'm still learning, and I try to learn from as many experts as possible and read as many books as possible. But again, like we were just talked about, I have to be open to other things too. That I always say this too. You don't know what you don't know, so you have to be open to what might come in that you're not aware of.
Yes, and this brings me to this morning. I was in a Facebook group of different authors, and they were talking about getting out of writer's block. And I commented, how about turning writer's block, the experience of writer's block into the story? Turn the pain into art. So then it's not a block anymore because now you're writing about what you're experiencing and then that becomes the story.
Right.
Um, I think we forget that, or not even forget, but we're embarrassed that pain is relatable. So we tend to not want to share it. We tend not to want to expose it in certain art forms or in certain business spaces because we're worried about perfection. We're worried about aesthetics and everything like that. When really, I believe that if we appear more raw to our audiences, if we appear to be knowledgeable in our understanding that we don't understand everything, and we're okay with that. And I think that's the key point. Being okay with the fact that you don't know is important because then that actually boosts your business, that boosts your self-esteem within what projects you're trying to accomplish, because you're not trying to do it perfect because you're not going to.
Mm-hmm.
And just being okay with that and being like, I did it, and then receiving the feedback from people that you do get and saying, okay, I can't use that, or yeah, okay, I can do more of that, and then you just build on it without criticizing yourself, without creating that judgment, that resistance within yourself to feel like, oh, I didn't do it perfect this time, so now everybody's going to think that I'm just, I have no experience, I'm not professional. It's not that. You actually seem more professional when you can admit when you're wrong, when you
Exactly.
can admit your missteps, because then people feel more like they can learn from you. Like, people would probably say, you have a moving background on your podcast. Yes, I do, because it's windy outside. But that's okay. Like, I don't strive towards perfection. I strive to say that I tried and I learned and I'm going to keep going until
And
I get
that's
it the way I
and
want it to
that's
be.
how many, like, so many of my lessons, the things that I've gone through have become part of my story, right? And that's how I teach. Um,
Yes.
from the lessons I've learned and the trials and tribulations I've been to, because every trial and tribulation and lesson can be your story and a teaching point and ways
Mhm.
to relate to people.
Yes, and I think that's also what makes a really good teacher in general, no matter what they're teaching. I believe when you have experience behind behind the missteps that students can experience, then it makes you more easier to connect to your students, your audience, whatever, because you can say, I can see why you feel this way or why you're frustrated that you can't get past this. Let me help you because I've been there. Um, and then also it's on the person that's learning from you to be able to be open to a different perspective of doing something. So it goes both ways, and I think that's why teaching and counseling go hand in hand, because it's a healing experience for both people to learn from each other. um, and that's all we can do, to really better ourselves if we're willing to do that. And then if we aren't ready for that next step, that's okay too. and to just understand where we are, because that's important to understand. Hey, I'm not ready for that next level yet, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, there's no point in judging the fact that you're not ready, because you can't. I mean, the person can't make you change, and you have to be ready to change. And then if you're not, then you're just where you are,
Right.
and that's okay too. Um, and I think self acceptance will really help with, navigating resisting happiness and trying to really get past that blockage. Um, because when you're okay with yourself, then it's easier to see the light of how can you get to where you want to be if
Exactly.
you're not there already. So, um, that was my gab for today. Oh, my earring fell out. That's
Uh-oh.
so funny. I have an earring that was designed like that painting, the melting clocks
Oh, yeah.
painting. Um, I love them because they tend to remind me that time is an illusion.
It is.
Um, and I just love art. I love how art is a true expression of people who don't have the words to explain their experiences, but then it allows you to have the open interpretation for yourself of what your perspective might be of a different visual. So I think art is amazing. That's actually funny that that fell out of my ear. I wonder what that means. Divine timing,
Right?
change
There you
in
go.
divine timing. Don't rush changing yourself or others out of a situation. You're there for a reason.
Very true.
That was the message. That's what I needed to say.
Well, and
So,
I believe there's different forms of art too, right? So there's
mhm,
music as an art, like, paintings are
yes.
art, books are art. So it's just
Mhm.
for me, like writing is way easier for me than speaking. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
speaking is an art too. So it's interesting how many different forms of art there are.
Yeah, I love it because self-expression is important, and I'm thoroughly upset that they're trying to get rid of stuff like that in school. Creative writing, learning how to speak to people, because a lot of people don't know how to do that. That's hard
Hmm.
to get in
Hmm.
front of a whole stadium of people and be like, and this is what I have to say. Comes with a special confidence that a lot of people aren't born with, that they have to learn, take Toastmasters classes for, and things like that. And, I mean, everything can be learned, but when it comes natural to you, I think that's a good indicator that that might be something that you can share with other people when something comes natural to you. As long as you're not trying to hurt anybody or do anything crazy.
Well, of course,
Don't
yeah.
take that out. I have to say that for people who listen. Don't take that out of context. Somebody's gonna hear that and be like, "Oh, okay. Well, this comes naturally to me." No, don't be weird.
Yeah.
Don't be
Yeah.
crazy.
Just
but
because you can steal stuff easily doesn't mean you should.
right, exactly. So let's get into what you have coming up, what you've got going, and where we can find you.
So I actually just started outlining my second book. I'm not going to say what it is yet because it's not quite that ready yet, but so that'll be next year sometime. Like I said, I'm outlining my coaching consulting program for authors and women entrepreneurs. And people can find me on my website, bucketlistunlimited.com. It has all my business, what I do, my podcast, my book. I have a group called Trailblazer Tribe. It's for women entrepreneurs in the Phoenix Valley. We hang out in the East Valley, mainly Scottsdale area, and do mind, body, soul connection with business. So like EFT, breath work,
Mm,
visualization. We do dinners, lunch and learns, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm growing that group right now. So lots of exciting things. I'm super excited about this year and what it's going to bring.
yeah. I look forward to joining one of your retreats too, because I love, connecting with different people, doing the sound baths and doing the different connection sessions, it always feels so good when you go to one of those, because then you come back refreshed and renewed with different energetic connections that you didn't have before, that are actually adding to your mental, spiritual, and emotional growth. So I know it's a transformative experience.
It is.
So thanks for joining me to have this conversation, and I will link all of her connecting links below and all the information. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next wave.
Thank you so much.